This pawn is the only one from Sword that has been buffed recently, becoming somewhat viable again. This is the Claustrophobic Inferno. But first, a quick disclaimer. Swords has been nerfed and buffed many times. As it currently stands, most of them are bad spawns to hunt, unless you're able to hunt with double taints. But this is the only one to have received a recent buff, and it also becomes top tier during the Orc first event, with a bonus experience for demon creatures. So hopefully this guy will help you hunt here, be it because you want charms or simply the challenging hunt. With that said, let's begin. This pawn has a specific design and an annoying mechanic because this is where the priority targeting got introduced originally, with Infernal Demons going for the lowest HP player over everyone else. They will hold the aggro of the target until they get rest by an EK. If another player stands on the way of the demon to block them, they simply will stand still, not retargeting and holding the aggro on their target, which tends to be the druid most of the times. This also interacts very badly with tree walls. Even if the target is behind walls with no clear path to them, they will still not retarget the EK. So even though it is possible to hunt with walls, and I will give it as an option, it's still pretty bad. And even if the EK rests the demon, if somebody walks next to it, that will be enough to reset the aggro and make it go for the druid again. So trust me when I say that as an EK, this is a very annoying spawn to hunt. Now for the spawn design, there is 3 floors and each of them has a trial you must survive to pass through to the next floor. They all function the same way. Once the first player enters, a few seconds after, the walls come down and block the path in. Then creatures will start respawning and you need to endure 2 minutes. However, keep in mind each trial has a teleport to get out, and because of the high density of creatures respawning, this hunt centers around doing them. But they also have a cooldown and a mechanic attached. You must stay on the floor of the trial for 3 minutes to be able to re-enter, with the third trial being an exception that shares cooldown with the other floors. So being on the second will start the count towards the third. But with that said, let's continue with the general information. Defensively, the main damage is death for every vocation, so gear up mainly for that with fire protection as secondary, because physical is actually quite low for everyone. It's quite viable to go with an LML and use double imbuements unless you have an armor with an innate death or fire protection. Offensively, they are very weak to ice and holy, so this spawn favors druids heavily since they are also neutral to earth, and for sorcerers they are also neutral to energy. In terms of charms, you wanna go with this, and because the vast amount of damage comes from the Brachio I find a lot of value in using dodge as the EK, especially on the raids is very helpful. As for the wheels, I will prioritize HP as the EK, Paladin should go for mass stun upgrades and grenade, Druids probably go with the upgrade on Seal and level 2 Twin Burst, possibly even level 3, or consider using Runic Mastery as well. Sorcerers should go with Runic Mastery and Energy Beam upgrades. Even though the rune to use is Avalanche, you still get value from it. And monks probably upgrades on Spiritual Outburst to add more AoE to the raids. Now with this out of the way, let's start off with the guide, for which I do have a recent hunt to showcase, but first I'm gonna share an optional lab recommended for level 900s, not easier or better by any means, but is an alternative if you want to prioritize bestiary of infernal demons and phantoms, since the proper lab is very heavy on brachio. This one centers around the first floor with the use of 3 walls to make it easier to hunt and works best for open PvP servers. But keep in mind, it's likely better to not use 3 walls if you can handle the kiting of demons and the EK is good with resing when passing by. Start by having the EK grab the creatures close to the left, and RP lures phantoms from the southwest to make a 10 creature or so pull here, then take the left, and EK go in and start resing the demons. Meanwhile, the rest start setting up the walls. If you have a 4-man, you will need to help with at least one magic wall, and remember you can attack through magic walls. Once this pull dies, you do a similar one to the first, but this time on the right side. EK grabbing nearby creatures and RP luring from the northeast. Then go to the right and EK pick northeast to lure creatures. Meanwhile, the wall is being built. Then coming up, go south and shooters build the wall to the left. Meanwhile, EK lures from the south. Next you will go into the raid, but for us we had to redo the second pull since the raid cooldowns used to be 5 minutes, for which I had to lure creatures from this rune to make up the pull, simply sharing that in case it ends up being necessary again. But for now, you simply head into the trial. It's recommended to stay by the middle of it, This raid, unlike the others, is a little bit easier even if you stay on the middle. But if you are still charming Brachio's, perhaps consider doing it safer to the left. Optionally, if you decide to do it in the middle, there is a safe spot for the druid to wall and shoot runes from. Also, whenever you enter raids as the EK, place energy bombs near the spot you are doing the pulls. This serves two purposes. When raids start, the creatures are not fully respawned yet, so if you use spells to attack, it will be for 2 to 4 creatures at best. However, if you place bombs around when the raid is properly going and people start kiting around, the damage you will add from the creatures walking over the energy is far greater. Additionally, with the trials having a 2-minute duration and the bomb lasting 1 minute and 38 seconds, with the few seconds it takes to get to the spot and place the first bomb, by the time it disappears, you have that as an indicator that the raid is about to end, and this can help if you are struggling and consider using foods. Now, once it ends and you get through, do 2 pulls to the sides, where you will find mainly infernal demons. If EK runs in ahead of everyone, they tend to target him and you have a second or two to rest and keep the aggro before druids need to show up to heal you, and then have the aggro get meds up. You should also be resting the demons on the way to each pull to at least have those on you. Now with this, for the lab I would recommend to take the teleport back and repeat. In our case, we were doing the second and third trials, but for that you will need to spend the 3 minutes on the second floor, which these pulls you just did count towards that, and then you will need to do a few more pulls on -2 to fill in the time, and then do the second and third trials to repeat the lap. However, because I will cover -2 on the next part, I will skip that here. But additionally, as I said before, if you want to prioritize Infernal Demons and Phantoms, skipping -2 and the other trials will help with that, at the cost of making less experience and profit, since the main goal of teams hunting here tends to be the trials. But hunting like this, I estimate around 7kk raw XP. With that said, now let's cover the good lab. Recommended for level 1k and above, but I will be using a recent recording with a higher level than that to illustrate. This lab starts in -2. Simply head into the first trial and then go forward. In -2, EK peek to the right side and lure creatures nearby, and RP can lure a few more from the north. Depending on the levels, you can have RP lure further northeast, and MS help with the lure as well. Then the next pull is to the southwest. EK lure the demons out of the cave to the left, and RP can optionally lure a few more from the northwest. You have the option to use 3 walls here or get closer to the path, and have the RP block the one way to the mages. Depending if the paladin lure creatures from the northwest, you will have another pull or not. Lower levels should split them up, I think, and higher levels can simply skip and run north to this passage, where both level ranges had the same pull. For this one, it helps if the EK runs ahead and lures creatures from the north of the pack back south, and then RP can help with bringing the creatures left behind south. After this comes a tricky pull, where it is recommended to have a mark in the map you can click, and that way chances of making it into the room are higher, and because this one is pretty much Infernal Demons, you want the EK to be ahead of everyone to secure most of the aggro. However, if this pull proves difficult, you can skip it. We started skipping it after a bit, partly because we had Taints and we're adding Brachio-demons to the other pools, making them last a bit longer. But also with the shorter cooldown to go into the raids, this is probably not needed. Perhaps even the one pull before could be skipped as well, since that one is pretty bad to set up. But because the room with the demons has a teleport that takes you back to the stairs, it fits nicely into the lab. Regardless, once you are at the stairs, go east and RP can take the north path to meet you ahead. This one you can go a bit into the opening and have the paladin block the one way to the side, or do it closer to it having EK in the middle of it. Depending on the levels you need to adapt, and also due to the creature's retarget, it also affects the position of this pool often. Once you're done with it, then head into the trial. For this one, we used to do it mainly on the southwest, because this has a somewhat safe spot for the druid to tree wall if needed, and is a bit safer in general due to the less creatures respawning here, and requires RP and MS luring from the middle, but it also comes with less room to move around. Nowadays we do this pull to the right side, which is far more open space, but it does have more creatures respawn close by and less luring involved. Then once it's over and you get through, you can go straight into the third trial. On higher level teams, it's recommended to be near the middle, but lower level teams should go southeast. which also has a safe spot for the druids to be. And once the raid ends, you can let it take you to the next room and then take the teleport to get back and run towards -2. Keep in mind there is two more teleports in the form of a smoke. The one on the south takes you to the boss room, and the other one to the northeast takes you back to the entrance of the spawn. However, because of how the raid works, you won't be able to do the first trial, so it's not recommended to take it. There is a longer cooldown that will let you go back into the first trial without having the 3 minutes on the first floor, but I'm not sure how long that is, possibly 15 to 20 minutes, which means you could technically include the first trial a few times per hour. With that said, this team was making around 12k raw in late 2025, using two taints, but only the sorcerer had charms on demons and phantoms. Everyone else only had bracket demons. I think a level 1k team can do around the 8k before charms and around 10k once you are used to the spawn and have at least bracket demons bestiary. With that said, that's all I got for this guide and the end of the Soul War series. As of the making of this video, the creature products of this spawn are not part of the item deliveries, but that could change in the future, so perhaps keep some of them. And if you have hunted the spawn recently, share your numbers in the comment section to get a better idea of the potential XP. Thank you for watching and hope you come again.